Welcome back to Project Independence in You. I'm Kristina Liu, along with my co-host Otto Los, and we were just talking to Greg Balbara from Right at Home Long Island about Sensi AI 24/7 care, and that certainly was a hot topic. Otto, I know we have constantly somehow all of our conversations go to AI in the one way or another. So we dipped our toe in the water. We got a little more information about one of the realms that AI could certainly help a senior age in place. So
And I
really
would say it's
interesting stuff.
very early in the game.
Hmm.
The more information gathered, the better the results are going to be. I think one of the big things that came out of that was just at the tail end is having uh, like right at home sounds like, and I don't question it, is a very top-notch, reliable home care uh, service company, if you will. Um, and then what struck me is the need to them to analyze the needs of the client, as they call them. But I think prior to that part of it, the people who are helping the client, whether they be sons, daughters, friends, whatever, who are trying to help the client, ought to also be prepared in advance about the things that have to be thought about. Uh, don't just walk in cold. It's like going to an attorney about end of life planning. You don't just walk in cold. You shouldn't.
Right.
You should walk in with thoughts and questions. And I
No,
think
and
the
I
same
think
thing.
that certainly goes with everything we always talk about, right? So even if you go to your doctor, anything you're getting involved in, the pre-prep is really always going to be beneficial, and what it really triggered in my brain is the circle of support that we have, and especially when you're pulling in all these different family members who, as Greg Balbera had mentioned in our first hour, and just I want to give a little disclaimer, anyone, we are recapping the first hour of our show, and if you missed anything, please check out North Hempstead TV. You can watch it on our YouTube page with WCWP or our Project Independence website. So that is what we were referring to, and I highly recommend everyone checks out that first hour of today's show, because it's really another tool for our toolbox of aging in place. And I think that it certainly is just so important, especially I know being in this field, the calls that we get now from, relatives that don't live, here. We're in a world where, listen, we're on Long Island, it's an expensive place. Otto, I'm sure you can agree. There's a lot of people, who have moved out of state, family members. So it's really important to have these kind of tools, and especially with these advances in technology, to, keep your loved ones safe and able to age in place. So it's really,
Well, I
really
mean,
interesting.
as you know, like I'm completely a novice when it comes to AI, but I also understand what it's going to mean in the future. Uh,
Right.
eh, some of it not so good, and a lot of it very good. Uh, like this example right here, uh, caregiving. Uh, Having a database that you, if you will, that can be analyzed in a split second by the AI intelligence to give you what would be the best route to take as far as the caregiving for this particular situation. That's healthcare. Uh, God knows a billion people with prostate cancer, and they have it all. That's the part I don't understand yet, is how do they get this all into one big fat pot? And then
I
AI
know.
says, oh, okay, this guy has high blood pressure. He's been taking these cholesterol medications. He's been doing this. He's been doing that. Here's the best route for him to take to cut down on his need uh, to take care of prostate cancer, as an example.
Yeah. I
Uh,
mean, it blows my mind because I agree with you, Otto. It's so hard to understand how, all this information, collaborates into, spitting out, a care plan.
But it
Um,
does on the internet if you think about it.
yeah, but I mean, when because I was like, when even a novice thing, I think I mentioned it on, the show, a couple of weeks back, but there's these apps now, and I was at a party and one of my friends had it, and it was some AI thing, and she was saying like, she uses it a lot for, if she's trying to come up with a catchy saying or some kind of greeting card, and it was just spitting out the information you want, just keywords, and it wasn't even particularly all that, coherent of a picture, and the fact that AI gave you boom, 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 all these different options. I mean, and that was something silly, we were just like playing around. So it's incredible, and I think it's something that is rapidly advancing, and there's going to be all kinds of, new realms. I mean, it seems to be woven into so many aspects of life. So, when this came across my desk from Greg, I was like, this is very interesting. We're gonna have to have Greg come on and talk about, this because I think it's going to be something, and they're constantly working out the kinks with all this, So I think that's what's interesting as well, how this is kind of going to develop. So
Definitely.
another tool for the toolbox, Otto. We could spread the
Hmm.
word. And I also want to tell people, during the break, unfortunately, we always have so much to talk about with Greg Balbara from Right at Home. But I do want to encourage people that their website really is a wonderful asset of so many interesting and new information. And they're really timely blogs. They have, I love to print it out, and a lot of times I use it for different newsletters. And I really encourage people to check that out. It's rightathomeli.com. If you're watching the video to this, it will certainly be popped up at the end of the video. And you could always call 311 or 516-869-6311 to get more information about anything that we're talking about. So great stuff. And I want people to know that next week, will be another informational show. And this is with Cornell Cooperative Extension, Nassau County. We're going to have healthy holiday eating, which I think it's a good little reminder. For my own selfishness, I've scheduled this just to have a little reminder. So in the holiday season, I know we could all go a little rogue. As I look around my kitchen, I see all the delicious snacks surrounding me, but it's always good to figure out ways to keep your eating as healthy as possible for that. And Otto, what are your holiday plans? Are you going somewhere for Christmas Eve? You got a big family?
Yes, I am. Luckily, uh, my daughter Cindy has kept up a tradition that started many years ago, the Italian Christmas Eve uh, with the fish. So she's going to
Mm,
have 31 people um, and a variety of fish and, um, good stuff. Um, a lot of good food. So that's Christmas Eve, and then Christmas Day we go to our other daughter, one of our other daughters, Bernadette, for dinner at Christmas Day. And son Eric will be coming from Pennsylvania with his two boys. They stay at our house when they come, so
oh,
we'll have
nice.
they'll be there Christmas Eve and Christmas morning, and then they will go to her, his wife's mother's family. Yeah, right. Uh, so yeah, we're luckily kept busy.
Yeah,
And I got one
it's
good one too. And I'm not promoting this, but I'm going to wind up in Miller Ridge uh, for their Christmas thing. Uh, a lady I worked with 22 years ago, uh, and we've had contact over the years, but she's going to be coming from California to see Billy Joel in
hmm,
the garden, and she will be coming here uh, one day with her family um, and to our house, and then we're going to go to the Christmas thing at Miller Ridge.
that's so
So
nice.
that,
That's a fun one. We've done that many a times. You're in my neck of the woods. It's not too far from me.
yeah, right.
And I love it. It's really, and I tell it's even funny if we're not going to a formal dinner. Ever since I was a little girl, that's was kind of the hot spot I would always go to with my grandparents. And we would walk around the little town. Of course, shocking as it may be to anyone listening, I love the village because there's so many cute little gift stores. So that's really was always part of our outing, was looking around all like the fun little holiday things, and the bakery there is delicious. So
So
it's
now
fun
let's
to walk around.
reverse the question. What are your plans?
My plans. So we just kind of keep, it's our, I mean, I have a very busy December. Unfortunately, I've been trying to be mindful, and taking practice in what I preach, because I feel like December comes and I just run myself ragged because there's so much to do. There's so much prep, and then luckily in my family we all get together and we have all these birthdays. I mean, it's my mom's birthday, my aunt's birthday, and then of course I have, extended. So we're just running around. So you're really trying to maximize the month of December, while, taking a breath and not being completely exhausted. But it's nice. So we're doing a lot. We have so much going on, like leading up to Christmas. And it just seems like I know so many people that were born in December, apparently. So it's quite the quite the celebratory month. But we do Christmas Day. We do just at my house with my mom, my dad, my brother, his fiance, our doggos. And yeah, so it's just, but next week, it's just, I have like something every day between my mom's birthday, then I have family coming over for like a pre-Christmas thing, then I have a couple of my friends coming over for another day. So it could be quite the weekend next week. So I am just in full Christmas holiday season mode at the moment. As I look at my beautiful decorations that my husband did outside last weekend. So it's fun though. It's nice to celebrate. It makes you happy. So
We're
um,
among the lucky ones. There are people who uh, don't have this,
yes,
and it can be a
absolutely.
depressing time of year for them. Uh,
It's and that auto is something that I think, in doing a lot of research, I was pulling little holiday kind of stuff for the show, and I think that that really is. I'm happy you mentioned that too, and that's why I encourage people to call 311. This time of the year can be hard on so many levels. Listen, it's cold too. There's seasonal depression on top of, being alone, and I think that at Project Independence, we have a lot of programs that can help, to connect you and talking to that social worker or nurse. And we have wonderful social workers and nurses at Project Independence, who can get you connected, and I always encourage people to just make that initial phone call to 311 or 516-869-6311. And you can just, you don't even need to specifically know what you're asking for. I think a lot of people hesitate sometimes, Otto, to call because they might not, they have a feeling but they don't really know what they need, and that's okay. It's really to get connected. There's a bunch of different, programs obviously that we'll go over that Project Independence provides. There's, senior groups out there, and there's houses of worship, that have stuff going on as well. So I think it's so important to connect as much as possible, in whatever ways that you can this
an
season.
important part of that is the reverse part of that is to reach out to people who uh, might be in a lonely situation, make a phone call. Um, sometimes just a phone call will be
It's simple things,
uh,
Otto, and that
pick
is
people up a
obviously,
lot.
me quite well. And the simpleness of a gesture, right, goes a long way. And I'm always blown away by that. And because there's little things that I, might do in my life, and you find out later what a difference it made, and what it, of course, as I've mentioned many times here, is that my Christmas card is something that's always been a big part of my childhood. When I was a little girl, it was a whole event. My grandpa was a photographer, so it would be, we'd be in his studio and we'd plan the theme. I was so involved, and hence probably why I love to plan some stuff now and have a good theme. Um, but I've kept that tradition going, obviously throughout my life, with my husband and now our little dog baby. So it's a big part of it. So every year my Christmas list seems to grow and grow and grow. Um, because, and then I hear there's a lot of, older relatives that, live, you know, not close to me, and they say, it's that they barely get Christmas cards anymore, because they're older. A lot of people they know, might have passed away, and it's just to get a card in the mail. Like, I love it to get something fun in the mail that's not a bill. Sign me up any day. When I open that mailbox and see something that's a card, I'm like, this is great. And I display them all in the back over here, and um it's something so simple, and I just say it's something that, I do. And to hear from so many seniors, and I send to a bunch of different, like, neighbors on the block that are alone. It just makes them happy. And so it's just a little something simple. And I encourage people to, just be mindful of a sweet little gesture that can really make someone's day.
Well, and Town of North Hempstead has the December 13th brunch,
That is
which,
right. And we only have, so if you are listening to this live on the radio, it is December 8th. So hopefully there's only a handful of spots left. I don't know at the time. Right now we are pre-recording if we're going to have spots left, but call 311 or 516-869-6311. What I love about this, what Otto's referring to, is our Project Independence holiday brunch that we are doing. It's going to be Wednesday, December 13th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Clinton G. Martin Park. There's an optional grab bag, which is $10 if you would like to participate in it. It's going to be a really fun event. And what's so nice is I get all the registrations for it. And there's so many names of people I haven't seen in so long that are coming. It's really nice and from all different regions throughout the town. So I think it's going to be a really nice event. And I know that Kim and Community Services is planning a lot of fun little activities for that party too. So it's going to be a really, really fun day. So please call 301. Hopefully, when you call, there's some spots available. But if not, just call and we'll figure something out. Because it's really nice. And there's a lot of other little holiday things going on within North Hempstead as well. Um, we had a Christmas tree lighting over in Manhasset last week. Now there is going to be, if I could find some of my paper, there will be the Hanukkah Festival and menorah lighting Sunday, December 10th. That will be at 3 p.m. at Mary Jane Davies Green in Manhasset. That's right across from Town Hall, so they will be doing that. So that's a really fun little program. And then, yes, we can winter holiday celebration and tree lighting ceremony is going to be Friday, December 15th. And that is at 5 p.m. This event is free of charge, and they have a lot of fun stuff there. So there's really great holiday stuff going on in North Hempstead. And in that topic, I had mentioned earlier about the right at home wonderful resources that they have available. And in doing my research, I found a lot of great articles that we will certainly recap in the next segment. I am Kristina Liu, and I'm me and Otto, and hopefully Rebecca will be joining us shortly. Or talking about all things going on in the town of North Hempstead. You're listening to Project Independence and You Talk of the Town on LIU Public Radio.
Take WCWP with you wherever you go with the WCWP app. Listen live 24/7 to all of our streams, all from one app. Plus, call the studios directly from the app and visit our social media. Download the app through the iOS App Store on Apple devices or the Google Play Store on Android by searching WCWP Radio, or visit WCWP.org for links. The WCWP app, available now on iOS and Android devices.
Welcome back to Community Talk Radio. This is Project Independence and You Talk of the Town on LIU Public Radio. I'm Kristina Liu, and I'm chatting with Otto Loos about all things going on in the town of North Hempstead. We're really talking about holiday prep and events, and something that I thought was so great on the Right at Home website. It was 11 tips for a senior-friendly holiday event. Our show, luckily, we have a lot of listeners. It's a community-based show. There's a lot of caregivers, a lot of professionals. And I think it's important when you are having a holiday. And I know for myself, with my grandpa, we were really trying to be mindful of a senior being there. I know a lot of times, and I've been to these holiday functions where we have all these people. The senior is just sitting there, and they can't hear necessarily, they're distracted, they're not included. So I think it's important to be aware of all these things, and I really love this list. And one of them, the first one, was transportation arrangements, safe travels. If you are having some kind of a holiday, it's really helpful to kind of get that all prepared for the senior, so they're not sitting there trying to figure out how are they getting to their daughter's house or their granddaughter's house. And number two, inviting atmosphere. Comfort meets celebration. And these were just such interesting things that you might, take for granted and not think of. Lighting. Ensure the space is well lit to accommodate visual impairments. Soft, warm lights can add to the coziness without being overpowering. If anyone comes to my house, they know I love a good soft lighting, so I could check that off on my list. Seating. Have plenty of comfortable seating options. Chairs with armrests and cushions can help seniors sit down and stand up more easily.
Let me add
Temperature.
something to
Yes.
that one. All right.
Yes.
One of the things I notice a lot of times when we have like a family gathering and whatever, and there are maybe some people who have a mobility issue. Uh, and because they have a mobility issue, many times you look over and they're sitting there by themselves
Yep.
because they can't get up. And like in my house, they end up in the kitchen, they end up
Mm-hmm.
here, they end up there. Uh, Probably a good thing to keep in mind, and I'm talking to myself as well, is
Mm-hmm.
go over and talk to the people who have the mobility issue. And as far as the seating goes, maybe it would be good to direct them to a seat that can be easily reached so
Yep.
that they're not stuck in a corner where people couldn't go to them even if they wanted to. Uh, just
Absolutely.
thoughts.
No, it's so true because literally as you say this, I flash back in my brain to so many holiday, functions that we've had throughout the years in our family. And that is something I remember with my grandpa, because he had mobility issues. He couldn't hear, so he a lot of times be sitting there and I was so conscious and my mom and stuff, to include him in the conversation, to go over to him, because there's nothing worse when someone is just sitting there just feeling out of it. It's the holidays, right? You want everyone to talk about old times, to gather, to laugh, to feel included. So I think it is really on the ownership of the family member to take those steps. And I think, right, Otto, it goes back to our original topic of pre-planning. To plan out these things can really just avoid issues or hurt feelings. The holidays can get a little crazy. You want to keep it as peaceful as possible, so that is something that I think is a
The
great tip.
simplistic view of it
Hmm.
is to help, like one of the issues for people as they get older, sometimes not too active, is they feel invisible. And if you're
Yep.
sitting in a party and you're sitting in a chair that people can't get to, you're invisible. You feel invisible. You're
Hmm.
not part of it. Uh, and it's a negative
I think it's
feeling.
easy to, in fairness, everyone, listen, the holidays are crazy. I get it. I've been there. There's, especially when there's young people, you're bopping around, you're doing all kinds of stuff. And I get that. But I do think it is important sometimes to step back, because there's a lot of things that you take for granted because it's easy for you to, run over here, move over here, that you're not necessarily thinking about what's going through. And I think that that's a really important thing, is that, Otto, because it is something you do feel invisible. I've actually heard that said before, and it's a horrible thing to hear someone say that. So it is important. And back to that, they also said the temperature, keep the room comfortable, warm temperatures, as seniors can be more sensitive to the cold. Accessibility, make sure the space is accessible, avoid tripping hazards. It's really just kind of getting, the pre-plan initiated. Inclusive planning, everyone has a role. This is something too that I remember we would always do with my grandparents. And I think a lot of times, you think, listen, they're older, they're not going to want to cook. It's a hassle. Even like with my mom, I feel that way. And I'm like, oh, and she, but she takes joy in still doing that full holiday meal, and obviously I'm there for support and to make her life, easier, but that brings her joy to do those things. So I think it is important too, if there is that family cookie recipe or whatever, or side dish, to ask, whoever's in your family that is a senior, if they're interested in doing that. And this is, of course, my personal favorite is memory lane decor, a nostalgic touch. Incorporate decorations that might spark memories or conversations. This can include vintage ornaments, or other things that older adults may recognize from past celebrations. And for example, I am obsessed with ornaments. Okay. Ever since I was a little girl, I love to get ornaments. I love to give ornaments. It's such a tradition in my life. I spend a lot of time picking the perfect ornament for people. I mean, unfortunately, as I'm sweating as I think about this, because I have, a dog this year, and I need to really kind of not put all my ornaments, but I'm attached to everything. It's a whole issue. We could do a whole segment on my attachment to these ornaments that I've had, my whole life. But that is something that's always a focal point in my house. So when my friends and my family come over, everyone's looking at the tree, they're remembering things. So it really is a great way to spark conversation.
Do you get
Um,
a
and
new tree every year? A
yes,
live
yes,
tree?
we are a real tree household, yes. And
Yeah,
there's a real tree outside we put too, and we got a real beauty this year. We really did a solid pick. I'm really into my tree.
they're
But I just
expensive.
decorated my mom's tree last night, so today will be my decorating of my tree. So we got a lot going on, a lot of
I
moving and shaking.
understand real trees are scarce and expensive.
They are extremely expensive. I was actually talking about this, Otto, because you shared that with me last week, and when I was picking out my tree with my husband, he was like, luckily Jay's a landscaper, so he's got accounts in different places, so we get a bit of a discount, when we go. But we were talking about it. He's like, trees just seem so expensive this year. I said, well, Otto told me that they are scarce due to the wildfires. And Jay was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think that, and listen, we get like a 7, 8 foot tree. It's definitely smaller than it's a small 7, 8 foot tree. So it's just interesting. But you know what? It's my thing. And every year, the prices go up. Doesn't stop me much. Um, but back to that. Also in that kind of goes in line with the memory lane decor. It's having a festive soundtrack. Music is certainly something that we always talk about on this show. It can spark so many memories for your senior loved one. I'm always amazed by the power of music, with people who are really struggling with dementia and Alzheimer's, and that they could hear one song and it could trigger this whole beautiful memory for them. So that is something that, of course, is always bumping in my household. But I think it's important too to not have the music too loud, so everyone could hear each other, right? We know
Exactly.
Otto is not a fan of the loud music, and when you're trying to have a conversation, especially at a wedding, I know that that's one of Otto's pet peeves.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, I'm not. I know a lot of people who are not all that old that feel the
I say
same
my,
way.
and that's myself. Absolutely,
Yeah, I mean, and
absolutely.
I'm stupid enough to get up and
Yeah,
jump around and dance to that
yeah,
stuff. But
right.
you know,
Well, if
the
you're trying to have a conversation, you don't need it could just be nice background
the people
noise.
on the other side of the table in many weddings might as well not be there. There might as well be a shield
Mm.
between the people on both sides because you can't
You're right.
talk. And
You're right.
I think it's defeats some of the purpose of the wedding celebration. You know, uh,
Absolutely. I couldn't
and
agree
I
with
don't
you
know
more.
how it
So
happened, but it's like the DJ is who you're there to see. That's not who I'm there to see. You know,
it's a full
it's
concert.
yeah, and that's not, you want to go to a concert, good, go to a concert. But this is not
No,
what
I
I'm there
agree.
for. I'm there to
I
celebrate
hear
a
you.
wedding. You know,
I do. I hear that.
yeah,
So keep your festive soundtrack to a low, nice
there
background
you go.
volume. Traditional fare with a twist, thoughtful menus. When planning the menu, consider dietary restrictions and preferences. Obviously, this is something that I've certainly got from my mom because we think about every possible scenario and anyone that's coming and things they like, things they don't like. We want to make sure something is there for everyone. And I do think that's important because it goes back to feeling included. There's nothing worse. I've been in so many family things where people were gluten free or they were vegetarian. So you want to have options for everyone. And that might be whether it's soft foods or low sodium options or sugar free. Familiar favorites, traditional district dishes are such a big thing in our household. It's always you know you need to have that kind of staple, whatever it might be for your family there. And then just to have some engaging activities. We mentioned this, when we were talking about Thanksgiving, how fun it is to have different games, and it all goes back to spending time as a family. Listen, the holiday season can be crazy. It could be overwhelming, especially Christmas. There's presents, there's chaos. I mean, there's just so much going on, but I do think it's important to whether it's something we love to decorate, and this is leading up to the holidays obviously, but decorating cookies, making gingerbread houses. I always have some kind of little craft thing to do, so it's just to have these things are really fun to do with the whole family too. And then the gift exchange, no one loves giving a gift more than myself. But I do think a small little thing can go a long way. I think unfortunately we've gotten kind of in a world where, gifts, especially as you get older, seem to get more and more expensive and interests get more expensive. But I do think we need to hold on to the spirit of the holiday season. And just a little gesture can really go. I love a good homemade gift too. As I mentioned, uh, my mom, I made her that advent calendar she gets every day, which is that little dollhouse, and each day she gets a little thing to put in it. And it's great because that brought her so much joy. Every morning she texts me and she's like a little kid. She opens it, very early in the morning, and we'll get whatever her little advent calendar piece is to put in this house. So there's great little mason jar, things you can make, whether it's something, all the ingredients to bake something, or a little note a day. There's so many really great things you can do just to make someone smile and feel remembered in the holidays. What I also think is important too is to have a quiet zone kind of designated. Listen, I don't have a very big house, but I do have a setup, that if there is a space, whether, sometimes my dad, like you just need to go sit and just, relax or rest after stuffing your face. So that's nice to kind of have that designated for someone. And really, I love this because I certainly do this, is the photo opportunities, how important it is to cherish that memory, capture the photo. I'm big on that myself. So to do
Now
that,
that's a
I,
big topic, by the way.
oh, good. Well, we could talk all about that. That's one of my
Taking
favorite topics.
photos, all right. If you look, like I'm involved, as you know, with family tree stuff, all right.
Mhm.
And photos from years ago were really cherished because you only had like one or two of somebody. All right.
Mhm.
Now you have 400,000. Now,
Oh,
I'm exaggerating, but you could easily
but
have a
not.
few thousand, right? Multiple thousands of pictures. All
Yeah, you
right.
don't even want to know the amount of photos I have on my phone currently.
Well, so, but yeah, but my point is that, and it takes a lot of effort because I try,
Oh,
is to
mm-hmm,
try to organize these photos
mm-hmm.
into albums. Like I put them on Google Photos,
Yep.
and then like an event takes place, I try to get everybody to.
Mm-hmm.
I set up an album on Google Photos, try to get everybody to send their
You're
pictures
me.
to it. All right, and then I'll try to edit some of them because there's a lot of terrible pictures. All right, you know, and they're raw. I mean, uh, you like you see pictures
It's
where
really something you have to manage. It's a really
yeah, I
managing
mean,
task.
90% of the picture is the wall in the room or whatever, all
Mm-hmm.
right? Well, you can simply crop those pictures and make them really good pictures, all right?
Of
But
course. I mean, the phones today are incredible, and that's something, Otto, I can relate to your plight because I know you have an Android, I have an iPhone. So I'm big on these shared albums. So anyone that has an iPhone, I have a bazillion shared albums on there, and that's, saved on the cloud, and everyone who was at that event, and I am the you, and I sent to everyone, put whatever pictures you took from the event in there. So this way we have it all in one thing.
well,
But it is
that
it is a
just
lot
got
to
more
manage.
difficult, all right? Apple decided to make a new extension for their photos, not .jpeg, but some
Hmm.
other one I forget right now,
Hmm.
SED or whatever.
Hmm.
Uh, so you now have to go through another step. You have to get a converter that converts the that extension to JPEG so you can put it on Google Photos as an
Oh,
example.
geez. Oh,
Yeah.
gosh.
So why did
I'm
they do
tired
that?
thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, why did they do that? I have no idea, but it just complicates the matter of trying to organize pictures.
I know. It's something, and I try to stay on top of it, and then like it can very easily, after a celebration, get out of hand. All of a sudden, you're like, oh my gosh, and then you have so many duplicates, and then just because it's so easy now. So I could have literally, I mean, the amount of pictures I have of my dog in the same position, but like maybe his ear is slightly, tilted, and it's just you're sitting there and you're like, oh my god, there's so much, and it's great because it's convenient, right? So the fact that I could take a picture at any point, and I love it's wonderful, that's great. But the fact that you don't have a limit, into how many pictures you can take. I was the queen of the disposable camera. I love the disposable camera. I still miss it, and I wish I could, bring it back, but it's so hard to get film developed, now. But I always like that because I like the element of surprise of it, but now that you have these phones that you can just boom, 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 it really is something that's a lot
Well,
to
do you
manage.
download the pictures from your camera, from your phone to your computer?
Yes, I do. I do that. Like I try to do that like, once a month. Because it really adds up because I'm so terrified of losing photos. So they're just like saved in so many random
Well, they come from
venues
Facebook, they come from Snapchat, they come
everywhere.
from,
Right,
yeah,
everywhere.
yeah,
It's just there's so
but
much.
not from Instagram because you can't do it, which is why I'm not a big Instagram fan.
Well, absolutely. But we will be giving you more holiday tips. I am Christina Lou. I'm talking with Otto Los and everything that's going on in North Hempstead and around the holiday season. You're listening to Project Independence in You, Talk of the Town on LIU Public Radio.
WCWP is your home for great music and great conversation. You'll find all that and more on WCWP.org. Listen live on the web, check out the lineup, subscribe to podcasts, and stay up to date on the latest station events. Get in touch with us and let us know if you like what you're hearing. And find out how you can support or get involved at the only community public radio station serving Nassau's North Shore. Plus, sign up to get a free bumper sticker. It's all online at WCWP.org.
Welcome back to Community Talk Radio. This is Project Independence and You, Talk of the Town on LIU Public Radio. I'm Christina Lou. I'm chatting with my co-host, Otto Los, about all things going on in the town and everything happening this holiday season and how to really include everyone and maximize the happiness and joy of the holiday season, which I think is the main goal at all times. So Otto, before the break, we were going over just some tips to really feel included, making your senior feel included, and anyone really this can go for. Um, so we were talking before the break about taking photos, which is a lot of work, but it's important to do. I'm the top the capsule of all photos, and it's something that I really because constantly everyone's Christina, do you have this photo? Can you find this? And that's something that I cherish. Is having these photos. They're so important to me. I always say to my husband, if there is a fire, God forbid, in our house, there's so many photo albums I have that I would need to take with me because some of them were pre-social media. Some of them I had, I would just need to take those photo albums with me. But
Well,
one of the things I was most happy about with my grandpa is that we spent so much time in the later years of his life going through all of his slides and having them digitally converted. So I have all those, saved in so many places digitally. And I really encourage people, that is a gift that is such a wonderful gift. I put that on, possible gifts for me in the future is something that I really want to go through all my home videos and have, because there was a time where the home videos, we took them and put them into, like a DVD. And that was like a big thing. We had them. But now it's really so much better to have it on a digital platform, whether you're able to share it easier, you're able to save it in so many places. So I think that
well,
that's a really
I
fun
did
gift.
that with
Yeah.
a lot of 8 millimeter videos.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot of work. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the screening part of it is important because if you just send them a bunch of reels, um, they're going to come back as a bunch of reels
Mm-hmm.
with no identification. So to identify each of those little reels, and then I sent it away to a company, and it cost a few bucks, but it was well worth
Mm-hmm.
it. And I get back electronically. It's on my computer. It's in Google Photos. It's on an auxiliary,
Great.
my
Mm-hmm.
external hard drive. Uh, and someday, first of all, there's so many. It's like our show. There's like
Mm-hmm.
12 years of shows on the North Hempstead. We
Mm-hmm.
it's impossible to hear all those shows.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same story.
Mm-hmm.
So now you wind up with so many. It's shocking how many old movies you get. All right, uh,
Yeah.
and you get so many old movies that if you don't identify them now with the key pieces to that, who is in it, what's it for? I actually have it on an Excel program with 5 or 6 pages of each of these videos with a number. so that somebody could
Oh,
say,
you're so
okay,
good, Otto. You are
Kristina,
just so
yeah,
good.
but you know
Everyone
what?
had
It
an
took a
Otto, man.
tremendous amount of work to
Yeah.
do that. And I did this over a period of years, uh, but it's the old story. Like we've talked, there's only one way to eat an elephant, one bite at a time.
Hmm.
Uh, and a project like that, you don't sit down and say, okay, I'll be done this afternoon. I'll have a nice sandwich. No, it don't
Yeah.
work like that. You know, it's one that you work on here, there, once in a while, and over a period of 3, 4, 5 years. And then
Hmm.
maybe if you're lucky, you're done. And I'm at that point where the movies are done. Uh,
Yeah. That's
but it
so
took a
great.
lot of
But you know
work.
what? And I'm sure, Otto, you feel though so good right now that, you went through that process and now you have this, tangible thing that you can share with your family. And I think it's such a good hobby. Obviously, for someone, it's nice to do it with someone, because that's something that was fun with me and my grandpa. There was a collaborative kind of effort going through these things. And then I, took everything he wanted and had it, done for him. But there is like so many different organizations that can help you out. And I think it's such a good kind of hobby and pastime to go through these things, to certainly have them because, it's unfortunate. I don't even, some of the things, I don't even know how I would even be able to screen them because they're on all these different tapes from when I was like a little girl. And but it's something that I definitely, that is on my list
You
of things. And of
basically,
course there's so many Christina birthday parties, so those really need to be,
I mean, you
digitized.
basically have to take the time to kind of look at them
Hmm.
a little bit. I don't even remember how I did it. I did it with slides because I had a thing that you could lay the
Yeah,
slides on. All right.
right. Yeah,
And
because that's what I did with my grandpa.
Like Dan said during our break, I would look at those slides and say, out, 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 and
Hmm.
try to boil it down to the slides. That's another technology that was around. Slides,
Yeah,
8 mm movies,
right.
Um, and
Yeah.
yeah, if you don't do anything with them, they're gone. Nothing's going
Yeah,
to
I'm
happen.
listening. I
Mhm.
totally I think it's important, and that's something, we've talked about so many times, is that, you look at some of these photos and you're like, who is that? I'm not sure who this is. So it's nice to have that. What you're doing for your family is such a beautiful thing because to know, okay, this is, so and so, who, is not around anymore. It's nice to really it's preserving your family history. And I think that that's really a cool gift to give someone. And just a quick little sidebar. My dad last weekend, which I only wish it was filmed. My dad went to Brockport University and he was on the hockey team. So they just celebrated, it was 50 years of varsity hockey. They had a big event. This guy that he had played hockey with tracked him down. So my dad, his two friends that also went there, and the son of one of the guys drove them all up to Brockport. And it was so fun. So speaking of photos, my dad is so terribly has no idea about technology. He's like on another planet. So I had said, he was calling me every day, giving me updates. Of course, being the fabulous daughter that I am, I must say, I've got him a Brockport, Golden Eagles hoodie. So that was the hot commodity amongst all of his friends. Where did you get this? How did you find this? I said I would have bought one for everyone if I knew it would have been such a hit. But he can't. I said, Dad, you got to take pictures because I want to see. So yesterday he comes home. We're looking through. Of course, there's terrible photos, and they're like bazillion duplicates. So he's going through. I'm like, you got to ask him that. I was like, just give them my phone number, tell them to send to me. This way I could organize it because there was some people had, you know, um, really cool like old photos of like, it was like a then and now kind of thing. So it was so important. So I said to myself, listen, I will gladly make this all organized for you so you can enjoy, these photos instead of having like 30 of one photo. So it sparked my memory because I was literally just having this conversation last night with my dad, about his hockey kind
I
of
must
reunion.
have inherited something from my mother. All right. My mother left an album um, of pictures that were entirely her coming over on the boat from Germany in
Wow.
1928. And I thought about taking that album and dismantling it basically and
Mhm.
making it digital. but I changed my mind. And what I did instead was in the front of the album, I tried to explain who the people were that I was aware of in those pictures. And it's still in the original album.
Hmm.
Now, probably pages can be scanned, uh,
Hmm.
but I haven't done that yet. I don't know if I will, uh, because that album is priceless. It
Yep.
shows my
See, I'm
mother
with
as
you.
a,
See, that's
yeah, I mean, it shows my mother as a 17-year-old girl.
yeah. And having it in the original, so that's also my constant struggle,
Yeah.
right? Because on one hand, I love a digital format. I love the sharing. I love the whole concept of it. I like the organization, but I'm also a girl who has a spare room filled of scrapbooks and photo albums from the days before things were strictly, digital kind of sharing things. And there is something to be said about a hard copy is different still to look at than just seeing something online. And I don't care what anyone says. It's something to have an actual print, maybe because I'm the granddaughter of a photographer. There is something different about really seeing it,
Well, you can
the
sit around
magnitude.
and you can pass the pictures around. You can look at them. You can
Yeah,
talk
and
about them.
it's something, so that is, listen, there's a lot of photo albums that I probably, are, I was still printing out pictures even when I had things on Facebook and different social media stuff. But, so many of these albums, and that was something that was such a part of me and my doing it with my grandparents, were making these books together. So it's something that I do struggle with too, because, and especially having something that's so old and original, I have that from my grandparents too, and I mean, the photo albums are semi falling apart. But, what I did was I took pictures of the picture, to have just a backup, God forbid something ever happened, but then kept, the original, spiral black, photo album that I have.
Well, one of the things you can do with older people who may not be up to speed, a lot of people who are older maybe don't know how to use the phone with the camera,
Mm-hmm.
the pictures, the whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've taken the time to either, you can do it. I don't know how to do it from the phone, but I know from the laptop, I have shown pictures on the TV.
Mm-hmm.
And if you
Mm-hmm.
have an older relative, uh,
Yep.
maybe you come along and you figure out how to
That's
show uh,
Otto, that
movies,
is
pictures.
literally
You know,
one of our favorite pastimes. And that's something I did with my grandpa. I would make these, um, I mean, at the time he didn't have, he had a very old TV. So I made like, like a little DVD from my photos, for him to watch and stuff. But then when he would be at my house, so many, I mean, that's another perk of technology, right? So on my phone, I'm able to AirPlay it to my TV, and you have kind of like a slideshow of all these, great photos.
and you can
So
talk
that's
about them.
something that we like to do, on
Now,
holidays
did you
too.
do that with? And I'm getting a new laptop
Hmm.
Thursday. Actually, I think it's delivered. And one of the things I want to be able to do is wirelessly communicate pictures, videos, whatever to my TV. Uh,
Hmm.
have you done that? And I'm assuming it's not that big.
I haven't done this in my new one, and I used to. I'm sure these new laptops now, like a phone, have an AirPlay kind of component, and hopefully Dan is listening to us and can help us during the break. But that they should be able to do that. I actually had my old laptop. I had like a hardwired like cable that
That's
would
what
plug
I
into the
do.
TV.
Right.
But I'm sure these new laptops, and I have to look on my, because I usually just do it from my phone. I don't even pay attention to if the laptop has it, but I would assume that could be the case. So I think that's a great thing. But that's another example of a fun thing you can do the holiday season, because everyone loves it. Everybody wants to see these kind of old photos, and it's a fun talking point. So it's just some tips to think about. Obviously, it's a lot to plan, but I think it's important to be mindful and to be inclusive this holiday season, for your relatives and for everyone in the house. Um, Also, I just want to tell people that there are so many things coming up within Project Independence. I know I mentioned next week's show is going to be healthy holiday eating. We also have some other great topics coming up in December, and January, while we were on the air, is fully booked as well. So, Otto, you will see an email after the show.
Yeah, I'm trying to escape the sun.
You were doing just fine. We
My,
have
my
on the December
studio
20,
doesn't have a sun blocker.
we'll have to rig something.
Yeah.
December 22nd, we're going to have on a doctor talking all about allergies. I know this is I feel like allergies never seem to go away. They used to be kind of more seasonal. But I do think with these fluctuation of weather changes, I know everyone around me has some kind of either allergy thing or cold going on. So we're going to learn all about allergies. And in January, we have a bunch of great topics coming up. We have Elaine Franklin, who actually lives in Beverly Hills, so she will be zooming in. She's an author and she's a senior who wrote a book called Once Upon a Time in Beverly Hills. It's a fun little fictional tale, but she's had a very interesting life, so we'll get to know her. On the 19th, we have on Christina Marina, who is from Adelphi University Reach Lab, who they do a lot of great studies. We had them at our advisory committee meeting. And the newest one is this RISE study, and it's on how vets cope with stress and how it affects their sleep. Then on January 26th, we have on Nicole Christensen, who works for an organization called Care Answered, and she's going to be talking about keep calm and get a patient advocate. This is something that we're always talking about, going to the doctor, not being able to advocate for yourself. She's has so many great tips. So she will be on the show. And then even in the beginning of February, we have on the Long Island Alzheimer's and Dementia Center will be on too. So there's a big variety of topics. Obviously, if you have a suggestion, please call 311 or 516-869-6311 to give me a suggestion or something that you want to learn more about. I'd be more than happy to find it. So
And if
check it
there's
out.
anybody who can track it down, it's you.
That's right. It's always and it makes me laugh because it happens to me all the time. Even, we were just having a meeting scheduling the advisory committee meetings for 2024, and I'm in charge of finding the speaker. So I was just, they said, can you find a topic on this? And I was like, all right, well, we'll find someone. So, but please, and once again, Otto mentioned, we have all of our 12 years of shows archived. Most of them have videos, luckily. So you can go to the Project Independence website. You can go to the WCWP YouTube page. And of course, you can watch us on North Hempstead TV as well. So we are everywhere. You can't escape us. But really great stuff. And what I also want people to be aware of, I do a monthly newsletter that comes out via email. And it has all the information that we're talking about on the show. Project Independence, even just town programs or things going on in the community. It's really a great resource. We always call it our Bible at work because we each have it printed out at our desk that at a moment's notice we could look up something because there's so many great programs going on. We have our Fridays, I guess we can. There is going to be there's 2 more sessions for December. There's brain games, there's heart-to-heart bingo and blood pressure screenings with our nurse and our social worker. There's the What in the World is Going On and Color Me Calm current events group. There's been some great segments, the power of music on your health and exercise for balance and strength presented by NYU Langone. It kicks off at 9:30 on Fridays, and it's a full day of great, great programs. So if you've missed anything, call 516-869-6311. We have a whole host. Say you want to be signed up for the email newsletter. We'd be happy to get you signed up. But we are a wrap. Thank you for listening to Project Independence and You, Talk of the Town. Thank you, Otto. Project Independence and You is a production of Long Island University Public Radio. Dan Cox is our engineer. Join us again next Friday at 10 a.m. on LIU Public Radio. Have a great weekend, everybody.